Hi, it's Elizabeth Willits here from Investing in Women, and we are live on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So as people are joining, if you could let us know if you can hear us all right, if there's any problem with sound, do let us know. But I'm here today with Ed Johnson, who is the CEO of mentoring platform PushFar. So we're going to be talking all about mentoring and how to make the most out of your mentorship relationship, finding a mentor, becoming a mentor. I'm going to be talking all about mentorship. So if you've got any questions as we go, please pop them in the comments. But as I said, we are live today on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Thank you to everyone that's joining live and on the replay. And do let us know as you're logging in if you have any problems hearing us. Give us an emoji. That would be fab. So thank you so much, Ed. Before we start, do you want to give us a brief introduction to you and what you do?
Yeah, thank you very much. Great to be here. I'm Ed, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of PushFar. So at PushFar, we really help to try and make mentoring more accessible around the world, both for individuals, but also for businesses as well that are looking to run mentoring programs, all of which takes place through our platform. And yeah, as I say, trying to get as many people involved as mentoring in mentoring as possible, both as mentors and mentees. We have lots of people signing up as both, so saying actually I'd like to be a mentor and a mentee, which is always great. So,
brilliant. We're going to talk about that actually, aren't we? So I won't jump ahead. We're going to talk about reverse mentoring, but it seems like it's a real buzzword at the moment. Everyone's really interested in becoming a mentor and being is it a mentee? Is that the right way around?
Mentee. I don't think it's a word that's in the dictionary, but it sort of seems to. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. So maybe before we start, do you want to tell us what is a mentor?
Yeah. Absolutely. So the simplest definition of a mentor is someone who shares their skills, their knowledge, and or their experience with someone else to help them to progress. So one sentence definition, there you go, very simple and straightforward. What's great about that is that actually it can be applied in so many ways, probably all being mentors and or mentored without even realizing it or without necessarily calling it mentoring. But yeah, a mentor or mentoring is when one person shares knowledge, skills, and experience to help another to progress.
Brilliant. Okay, so it could include a coach, could it include a business coach?
Coaching and mentoring, there are some differences. The main difference, I suppose, is that coaching is not necessarily from your own experience. So you could be coaching someone on a set number of topics or a set agenda that you may not have personally experienced. Also, coaching can be shorter term, whereas mentoring tends to be kind of longer term as well. So
okay, I didn't know that.
And then third difference, I suppose, is that mentoring tends to be directive, where the mentor tells the mentee what they should be doing, whereas coaching is more non-directive, which means the coach will actually do very little talking. The coach will just ask the person they're coaching a few questions and try and get the person that's being coached to kind of find the answers out for themselves from within.
Okay, so like a psychiatrist. Yeah. That sounds really, because I mean, thinking about, I've had some really good managers that I feel I looked up to at the time and learned a lot from, and I suppose they were probably mentoring me. So, I mean, you talked about like a coaching is more short term, mentoring is longer term. I mean,
typically doesn't always have to be, but that's sort of generally the rule. So you may well have a mentor for 5 or 10 years, whereas with coaching, yeah, potentially. Whereas with coaching, you might just be, sent off to a coaching course for 1 or 2 sessions by your manager or something, or it can be longer term as well. But yeah, usually coaching shorter, longer, mentoring's longer.
Right. Really interesting. Yeah, because I mean, it's very like the managers I've had, it's been quite short term compared to 5 to 10 years.
Definitely.
Yeah. So who can be a mentor?
Well, the great thing is everyone can be a mentor. If you have your own experience, your own knowledge, and your own insights that you feel would be valuable to other people, then you qualify as a mentor, really. I suppose that goes back to the other difference between coaching and mentoring. There aren't really mentoring qualifications, whereas there are for coaching. So mentoring, we can all be mentors. We all learn different things at different points in our careers. You've got a lot of people who are leaving school and college and university who have a lot of knowledge and insights into technological trends, things that are happening in the markets that actually are really valuable for people who are significantly older, who've maybe been in the industry for 30 years. So actually, if you've got experience that you can share with someone else, then and that's valuable and helps them to progress, then you can be a mentor.
So that's what we talk. So we talk about reverse mentoring. So that's what
reverse mentoring is a bit of a buzzword, as you say,
yeah.
and the reason for that is that it tends to be when someone who's considered less experienced is sharing more knowledge and experience with someone else. So you'll get reverse mentoring with diversity and inclusion. So if you're part of an inclusion group and you're educating a senior leader on what it is to be an LGBTQ plus employee in the workplace, that would be an example, I suppose, of reverse mentoring, where you're sharing your knowledge with someone who's significantly more experienced. But if we take mentoring back to that initial definition, reverse mentoring doesn't really mean anything different. It's just someone who you would think is younger mentoring someone older.
And people are quite open to being reverse mentored, are they as well?
Starting to get more and more accepting of it. And I kind of think that's why the word reverse mentoring was invented, because someone who was maybe a senior director in a company who's been there for 30 years probably didn't like the idea of being mentored by someone who was 20. Exactly. But when you call it reverse mentoring, suddenly they're open to the idea of it. Still mentoring, but they've now given it that name, and it's then more accepted in the workplace. Yeah.
Brilliant. Hannah, you've just written something in the chat. Yeah, she's got a question. I've written your question down, Hannah, so I don't know if it's a different one, but if you've been putting questions in chat, if anyone's got any questions, then we can make sure that we answer them as we go. But I do have your question written down, Hannah, as well, so I don't know if it's the same or a different. So who should have a mentor?
Everyone. Honestly, everybody.
I'm really to get a mentor now. I'm like, gosh, I need to sign up.
I think everyone can benefit from having a mentor at all ages, at all experience levels. Whether you are that CEO, that senior director who's been in the industry for 40 years, or you've just left school, you can benefit from learning from other people, from the experience that they bring. If you are new to a career, new to an industry, new to a sector, or new to work in the working world, then obviously having a mentor can really help guide you on the first few steps, and hopefully help you to avoid mistakes that are often made when we join a new company or join a new industry or sector. But yeah, all the way through, having a mentor can be extremely beneficial. I think if you say that you don't need a mentor, or you say that you don't want a mentor at any age, that sort of suggests you're not open to learning anything more, and that's what a sad thing to say. So hopefully everyone, I would say.
Okay, so everybody can benefit from having a mentor. What about becoming a mentor? Who does that benefit?
That again benefits people. So people will often say, okay, being mentored, you get loads of benefits. You've got someone who's got lots of experience, you're learning from them, you're learning from their education, but actually being a mentor, you learn a lot as well. It's all about learning from both sides. It's very much one of our advisory board calls it mutual mentoring. All mentoring is mutual mentoring. So you're going to get a lot out of it, both learning from your mentee, so the person you're mentoring, learning about different perspectives that are going on. So if a senior leader is mentoring someone who's just joined the business, actually they're going to learn about what a new grad or a new intern or a new employee thinks about the business and the perspectives that they have that otherwise they're just not going to hear about, and that will help someone in a business to make it a better business in a position where they're in a position to be able to do that. Being a mentor, you can also improve your interpersonal skills. So actually you can learn how to convey the answer to certain questions the right way. A lot of the time we see companies will say, okay, why don't you become a mentor first? And if you're good as a mentor, we'll consider making you a manager. There's a lot of those skills go into that too. So yeah, lots of benefits. And the final thing I'd say, benefit to being a mentor, is actually it reinforces the things you probably already, the things you do already know, but you've probably forgotten to do. So I've got two fantastic mentees who are starting their own online businesses who I mentor, and I'll regularly find during mentoring meetings that I'll be suggesting things that I'll think I should probably be doing that myself as well. Yeah, exactly. I really should be doing that too. Yeah, so I always come away thinking, actually really inspired by my mentee and the people I'm mentoring. So yeah, lots of benefit. And the final benefit is that it's incredibly rewarding. So, and actually, if you can help someone, why wouldn't you? It's a great thing to do, and see someone develop and succeed.
So how should you make the most of your relationship? If,
there are a few.
That's quite a big question, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So this is a regularly asked question when it comes to mentoring. You know, how can you make the most of it? I think the first thing is we'd always say set the expectations straight away. So have an introductory meeting, sometimes referred to as a contracting meeting, where both the mentor and the mentee discuss things like how often they can meet, how much time they can commit to the mentoring relationship. Try and put an initial time frame on the mentoring relationship. So say, you know, okay, we'll start mentoring for 3 months or 6 months. And then, you know, once that's come to an end, if it's worked well, we can extend it. The worst thing, I suppose, is not having an introductory meeting, not really having a plan or structure in place, and that you'll find that you'll have a good couple of meetings and it will go well to begin with, and it'll just fizzle out. And actually, that's not ideal for anyone. So if you can put a bit of structure and say, look, we'll start with 6 months. And by the end of 6 months, the mentee may well have got everything they feel they can out of it. The mentor may well feel they've given everything they can or shared everything they can to help the mentee. In which case, what a great, you know, place to sort of wrap things up and leave things on a high. And it doesn't mean you're never going to talk to your mentee again, but you're ending the formal, I suppose, mentoring relationship. In terms of meeting, I'd recommend once a month. Anything more than once a month, it can become a bit too kind of intense. But if both parties are happy to do once every 2 weeks, then fine. Again, it's something to discuss in the contracting. But generally speaking, once a month is a good place to start with your mentoring relationships.
So you write things, you put a bit of structure in. Is there any training that like a mentor should go through so they know how to deliver? That's the right word.
There can be, yeah. I mean, with mentoring, it's less training. It's more there are guidelines. So if you type in mentoring guidelines on Google, I think PushFar our guidelines come up. One of the first results. But if you type in PushFar mentoring guidelines,
I was gonna say, do you have like something resources that you can?
We've got resources and guidelines on a platform to try and sort of guide people through. But it's mainly talking about set the introductory meeting. Here are some questions you might like to ask your mentee to begin with. One of the good questions a mentor can ask their mentee is, look, what are you hoping to get out of this? Because the worst thing you can do is find a mentor just because, the worst example I heard was I asked someone, why do you want a mentor? And they said, oh, because Lady Gaga has one. I went, it's not great. Like have some goals in mind when you're going to your mentor. Otherwise the mentor is not going to be able to help. You're not going to get anything out of the mentoring relationship. So the mentee's got to be driving it. The mentee should ideally be setting the meetings. The mentee should be going to the mentor and saying, can we meet at this date? And trying to set an agenda for the meetings as well. So there's a bit of structure and saying, look, I'd like to talk to you about this, this, and this during our meetings. If the mentee can do that, then the mentor is going to come prepared and have had the opportunity to think about how they can help. So the mentee should drive it. The mentee should have goals in mind. And if you are meeting monthly, try and set a monthly goal, because then you can talk about that during the next meeting and say, how did that go, and what are you looking to do this month, for example.
So it's less pressure for the mentor than I thought. I thought they'd have to do a lot of the planning, and
it should be the mentee that's doing the planning, because ultimately the mentee is setting the standards on what they want to get out of the mentoring relationship. And I suppose that leads on to then the mentor has to be mindful that they're helping the mentee. It can't be a private ego trip for the mentor, just talking for an hour about what they've done in their career and how wonderful their career is, because that's not really helping the mentee. So the mentor should always be mindful of that, I suppose.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So I'm like listening to this thinking, oh my gosh, I really want to, find a mentor, become a mentor. How would someone go about finding a mentor or becoming a mentor?
A few ways. Obviously, I'm going to push PushFar first, as it were.
Yeah,
so PushFar, completely open, free platform. We've got over 55,000 people signed up as mentors and mentees now. You can register in a matter of minutes. You can set up a profile. You can say whether you want to be a mentor, a mentee, or both. If you're not sure, do consider becoming a mentor as well. Enter a bit about where you feel you can help, where you're looking for help, and then we'll suggest mentoring matches to you. So that's one way. That's
free, and you said
completely free. All mentoring is voluntary on the platform. You can set, you can pause your mentoring at any time. So if you're really busy and you think, actually, I don't have capacity, you can just go to your mentoring preferences and pause them. You can also say how many people you're happy to take on. So you can set that, if it's your first time mentoring, you can say, actually, I'm just able to take on one person at a time. The system obviously takes that into account. Whereas if you're a seasoned mentor and you're happy to take on 3 or 4 people, then great. So that's the first way. The second way, which is increasingly sort of popular, is actually if you're part of a larger organization with sort of 100 or more employees, and then talking to HR or learning and development, they may well have an internal mentoring program that you can join as well. So those are the two big ways, I would say.
Talk to HR. Obviously, go on your platform and talk to your internal HR, and maybe just friends. And I don't know,
yeah, absolutely. Your own network as well. You're absolutely right. You're probably not going to want your own friend to be your mentor, because they'll be too close almost, and they probably won't be able to offer as effective advice impartially, I guess. But your friend may well have other people in their network that can mentor you.
Yeah. Good. So we've had a question. I'm just checking. I think we might have answered it from Zanatul. She says she enjoys being a mentor. She does it with a couple of charities with students. She would love to have a mentor at work, but no one asked her. She never asked anyone, even though she found mentors for other people in the office. So how do you ask people this? So I suppose this follows on. So you identify somebody you think they would be a good mentor. So she's asked, how do you then approach them? I suppose that's if you're in the office and you see someone that you aspire to be like, and you think, I would love them to be my mentor. How would you then approach them and ask to be your mentor?
It's a really good question. I think that it can feel kind of nervous sometimes, actually approaching someone saying, look, would you mind mentoring me? But honestly, that's all you need to do. You need to just ask. And the worst thing that can happen is the person will turn around and say, look, I really don't feel I'm confident enough doing that, or I don't have the time at the moment. But really, most of the time, I've found, and from talking to lots of other people, it can be incredibly flattering being asked to be a mentor. So be brave and simply ask them, say, look, I'd really love for you to mentor me. I'm looking to achieve this in the next 6 months. And I think with your experience, you'd be in a perfect position to do that. If you are a bit less confident about asking someone in person, you could always send an email. But obviously, if they are in the office and you're talking to them every day, that might be a bit strange, but entirely, understandable as well. And you could even say that in an email. Just say, look, I feel slightly awkward asking, but I really admire your career and what you've done, and would absolutely love to be mentored by you. I wonder if there's any chance you might. And as I say, the worst thing they can do is say, unfortunately not. I'm really busy at the moment, or I don't feel confident enough. But that's unlikely to happen. And even if it does, at least you'll have asked. And it may well be that then 6 months down the line, they turn around and say, look, I know you asked 6 months ago. I'm now a lot freer with my work. I'd love to help if you are still interested. So.
And they might also be able to recommend somebody else if they haven't got the capacity to do it, or whatever, they might know somebody else. I'm guessing as well, if you're working with somebody and one of you moves on from the organisation, the mentorship relationship can continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, be mindful about confidentiality. If you go to work for a competitor and you're sharing trade secrets, that's probably not ideal. But there's no reason if you're even if you're moving on to a different industry, actually, you can have a mentor who can help you with soft skills. So yeah, you can definitely continue the mentoring relationship even though you've left the same company.
Yeah, good. All right. So we talked about how the relationship should work and the reverse mentoring as well. We've had another question about PushFar. So does your company? Yeah, I think we've answered this. Does your company help individuals to find mentors, or do you just work with companies?
Both. So yeah, as an individual, you can absolutely just go to pushfar.com. You can register free, create a profile, and we'll suggest mentors and mentees to you. And then for organizations, our platform helps them to run their own internal programs. So for learning and development managers who want to run their own internal mentoring, they can again use our platform. So yeah.
Is it done on like an algorithm? So would you recommend people based upon preferences?
It is, yeah. So we look at things like industry, we look at availability, obviously, and capacity. We look at the key focus areas of mentoring, and each company can set their own. And obviously on our open network, we've got sort of a general array of them. We look at then keyword relevance. We look at location as well, so time zones are taken into account. Yeah, lots of different things are considered when suggesting matches. But what you can do, you can be quite proactive. You can go straight to the search page and you can actually filter and search for a specific individual. If you already have someone in mind, or you know exactly what skills you're looking for, you can search by a keyword. So if it was something more technical or industry specific that you wanted support with or mentoring with, you use the keyword search.
Did you say it was global?
It is global. Yeah.
Would you recommend, you know, if it was me, would you recommend people to me that were based in the UK, or could it be?
It can be either. So we don't look at location first and foremost. We will start to look at location if we found similar matches all over the place. But actually 44% of mentoring relationships on PushFar are international. So people are being mentored by someone in a different country. That in itself has lots of benefits. So you're going to learn about different cultures, different ways of working. You know, often in the same industry can be very different in two countries. And actually that's going to almost challenge you more. That's going to get you thinking outside the box. So if you can find an international mentor or mentee, then great. You know, if you are requested as a mentor by someone, you know, in another country, I mentor someone who's based in Greece. Yeah, I'm constantly learning a lot about, you know, working culture over in Greece, and I'm always being reminded about the weather as well, which doesn't help when I'm in London.
No, well, not in Australia. We've got the heating on.
I start to think, yeah, maybe I should move there. But you know, you get a lot out of international mentoring.
Brilliant. Someone said that PushFar sounds fantastic, so they'll definitely sign up. Had another question from here. So they've asked, would you recommend to always have mentors within your industry or sector, or would you recommend to have more than one and from a different background?
Really good. Again, really good question. I'm loving these questions. They're fantastic.
Yeah,
so I would say it depends what your goals and objectives are. So if your goal or an objective, you know, with a mentor is to climb the career ladder within a certain sector or industry, and you're going to need someone who's got that industry experience to help you to progress, then obviously finding a mentor in that same sector or industry really valuable. If, on the other hand, you're looking for a mentor because you want to improve your confidence, improve your public speaking, improve things like written communication or negotiation skills, then actually industry or sector doesn't really matter. You can be, you know, you might be in the entertainment sector and you might be looking for someone who, or you might find a mentee in you know, financial services, two very different sectors or industries, but actually you can teach negotiation skills or communication skills or management skills, regardless of industry or sector. So yeah, it depends what your goals and objectives are. And to the second question about having, you know, more than one mentor, then absolutely, you may well have a mentor who's helping you climb the career ladder in a certain sector or industry. And you might have another one who's helping educate you on diversity and inclusion or those soft skills that I've mentioned. So yeah.
I think that's probably linked a little bit to Hannah's question that she asked before. How can mentors support people going through career changes and like bringing transferable skills across from other industries?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, you know, speak from experience. So if you have certain experience in that sector, then you can share that. You can talk about what it's like in that sector or that industry. You can really, you know, help guide them and advise them and say, look, you may not have heard of this institution or this membership body that could help you, and there are lots of resources here. So things like that, that if you haven't been part of a sector or an industry, you're not going to know, but if you have, then obviously you can share that with someone who's new to it and really help them. I think what we sometimes see is people who don't know the answer or don't have experience who will try and guess. If that's the case, don't try and guess. Just say to your mentee, like, I'm really sorry, I don't know, but try and signpost them in the right direction. You know, connect them with your network if you feel comfortable doing that. Say, actually, I might not be able to help, but I know someone else who can. And then when it comes to transferable skills and things, as mentioned just then, you know, soft skills, you know, the same across the professional world, regardless of industry, generally speaking. So you can still mentor someone on, you know, how to perform well in an interview, whether it's an interview for, you know, two very different jobs. The interview itself, a lot of it will still be about, you know, being confident, knowing about the company, doing your research, things like that.
I remember reading something about terminology and how sometimes people were proposing it would be quite helpful, rather than being called a mentor, to be called a champion, because particularly for women, because they were saying that men have champions in the workplace that champion each other, and then they sort of progress at the career ladder they recommended. I'm just wondering what your thoughts about the terminology that's used and whether mentors should be championing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because there's obviously a fine line between mentoring and sponsorship as well. There are so many
Okay,
buzzwords
actually,
around.
yeah, actually, tell us about what sponsor. I know we're digressing. What sponsorship?
So sponsorship is, I suppose, more around, as you say, helping push someone, within a business. So you might sponsor them to kind of go for job promotions. You might use your network to your advantage to help them. You're really, advocating that they climb up the career ladder. Whereas a mentor is designed to support them just based on experience. They're not really going to be necessarily they shouldn't be pushing them. That should, as I say, come from the mentee. It should be up to the mentee what they want to get out of it. Whereas a sponsor is probably pushing someone, more proactively, and is probably, taking steps within the business, talking to certain leaders and saying this person should really be doing this role. So probably more involved.
So the terminology was probably wrong in the news report that I read, because it was talking about mentors, which of course about champions. They are different things.
They are different things. I mean, there's so many, I've heard so many different definitions for mentoring, coaching, sponsorship, buddying schemes, buddying. That's another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably, if you're helping someone to climb up the career ladder by using your network and talking to other people and not just sharing your own experience to do that, then I would say that that's probably sponsorship rather than
okay, so you might have two different people supporting you.
Potentially, yeah. You can easily have a mentor and a sponsor. Yeah.
So I'm now thinking, should we all be going and getting sponsors?
Look, I mean,
that's the same process to find a sponsor.
I suppose similar, but I guess sponsorship only really happens within larger companies. Okay. A lot of companies have actually tried to sort of almost shut down sponsorship to a certain extent, because it does favor people who've got bigger networks, and the sort of that phrase, kind of old boys network or whatever, and that's used a lot. Things like that. Actually, companies are now saying, well, look, we don't want to encourage sponsorship because it may be that this new person who knows someone else's dad is kind of helping push them up the career ladder, when actually someone else far more talented with the right mentoring should be in that position. So yeah.
Okay, all right, so we're going to keep focused on mentoring. That sounds like it's the way to go. Simon Brown, he said, it's great being a mentor with PushFar. He currently has 3 mentees who come from 3 different countries.
Amazing. There we go. Thank you, Simon. So Simon's on our advisory board as well, and
all right, thank you, Simon, for watching. Okay, so I'm just checking now through the questions and making sure we covered everything. It was really interesting. I've learned so much. So I'm making sure that we didn't miss anything. If anyone's got any final questions for Ed, any questions about mentoring, PushFar, how to find a mentor, etc., pop them in the comments, and I'll just make sure that I've asked everything that I think we needed to. Yeah, so we talked a bit about your platform, so just remind people how they can find with you, connect with you, and how easy it is to create a profile.
So very, very easy. Just go to pushfar.com, pushfar.com. You can click the sign up. Yeah, perfect. You can click sign up, create your profile. It's a 3-step process. First step is just name, email, password. Second step is things like your industry, whether you're a student or a working professional, a bit about your end goals and what you're hoping to achieve. Then you can choose whether to be mentored, mentor others, or do both. Do you think about doing both? You get benefits on both sides. We'll then suggest matches to you and help you to then request someone, and you can start viewing people's profiles and sending direct messages.
Okay, so you'll send us emails as people are matched to us. Okay, we've had another question from LinkedIn. So does PushFar mentors include entrepreneurs as well as people in full-time positions in other industries?
Yeah, absolutely. There are lots of entrepreneurs on the platform who are sort of starting their own businesses, or have started their own businesses, or we've got a few people who've even exited businesses and sort of done really well and built them up. So lots, and actually entrepreneurship is one area in which mentoring is really vital, because there are so many mistakes that you can make along the way as an entrepreneur. Everything is so new. Everything's sort of almost new. Well, it is new territory. It's a massive learning curve when you're starting a new business, and actually if you can avoid making some of the mistakes, by learning from other people who've made similar mistakes. I know I made a lot of mistakes when starting my first business. And actually, if I'd had a mentor sharing their insights and saying, don't do this, or you should do that, then that's really valuable. So yeah, lots of entrepreneurs on the platform.
I'm here for that because I'm obviously a new business owner, so I'm definitely going to be signing up this afternoon as well. Someone said they signed up. It's really simple, so that's good to hear while we've been talking. So yes, I'll put the link. I'm sure everybody's now going to be diving onto your site, signing up, trying to find a mentor, trying to be a mentor. So thank you so much for your time. If people want to connect with you or have any questions, where can they find you?
So on LinkedIn, or you can email ed@pushfar.com. That's come straight through to me. Delighted to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, perfect. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that's watched today, has asked questions. I'll pop the replay up. It'll be on my LinkedIn profile and also in our Facebook group. So if anybody wants to rewatch it at any point, like I said, I'll put the link to PushFar as well. And any questions after, once the session finished, just send them to me or Ed, and we'll do our best to answer them. So thank you ever so much for your time, Ed, and thank you for everyone that watched.
So much.
See you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Everyone.